Now let us see a few questions and answers in data structure and object-oriented programming in C++. So first is, what is an algorithm? Algorithm. So algorithms are clearly specified set of simple instruction which are followed or which will be followed to solve a problem. And this algorithm, it forms a base for a program. You don't open your IDE or the compiler to just start writing the program. For that, you have to devise certain steps, and those steps should be clearly defined, well organized. So these steps of instructions, maybe in a diagrammatically form or in the form of pseudocode, these are algorithms, and they can be directly now taken into your programming environment, and you can program it. What are the properties of an algorithm? Properties of an algorithm. So first, it takes zero or more input results. First of all, it will take zero or more inputs. Then the results is one or more output. So you ought to have some input and output. And then all operations are carried out in finite time. In the algorithm, all the operations need to be carried out at certain finite time. And the algorithm should be efficient and should be flexible, because if it is efficient, then only you can guarantee that your program you are making is best or most efficient. The algorithm should be concise and compact to facilitate the verification of their correctness. Now, it is not only the program is which is verified, or the source code which is verified. It is the algorithm also which should provide you or facilitate you to provide a way to test its correctness. Define a program. So these program, this program can come under your say, when you talk about a process in operating system, you say the program or the program under execution is the process. So this program which you are talking about is unanimous in your in computer science. So it is an instruction or a set of instruction which is written according to certain rules which is given in the algorithm. Program is the transformation of the algorithm which you have written or the pseudocode into the actual programming syntaxes. What is complexity analysis? Whenever you make an algorithm, you first analyze the complexity, and the complexity can be time complexity, and you can have a space complexity. So the analysis of the algorithm in terms of its complexity, how complex it is, how efficient it is, this is complexity analysis. So it is the analysis of the amount of memory and the time. So time means efficiency we are talking. Time an algorithm is required to take to complete itself. So there are two types of complexity, as I suggested just now: space complexity and time complexity. The next question is, explain the performance analysis of the algorithm. Performance analysis of the algorithm. So the analysis of the performance of an algorithm is based on specification which is known as performance analysis. So you can divide it loosely into some priori or a priori estimates, or say posterior testing. What is now space complexity? Space means memory usage, what memory it is going to take when it is going to run. So space complexity of an algorithm is the amount of memory it needs to run to its completion. Now next is the time complexity. Explain the time complexity. Now how much time it is going to take to run? This is time complexity. So the time complexity is the amount of computer time an algorithm requires to run to its completion. The amount of computer time this algorithm is going to take. Next is list out the components that are used for space complexity. What are the components for space complexity? First of all, you need some instructions space, then environment, that is tag, and the data space. So data instruction, that is the code. You have some code segment, then you would require some stack, some variable area. What do asymptotic notation means? Asymptotic. See, this asymptotic notations are the terminology that is introduced to enable us to make meaningful statements about the time and space complexity of an algorithm. So there are various notations like big O, omega, theta, O, omega, O, and theta. They have the two flavors, big and small. So this asymptotic notation or asymptotic analysis is a way of finding the upper bound or the lower bound. So try to find out or limit the algorithm efficiency or a time, running time, into certain lower bound and upper bound. This is the asymptotic notation or analysis. What is efficiency of an algorithm? Define the efficiency of an algorithm. So efficiency means how efficient it is, but in terms of time, we call it in the order of the growth order or rate of order. So it denotes the rate at which an algorithm solves a problem of size n. It denotes the rate at which an algorithm is going to solve a problem of size n. So it is measured by the amount of resources it uses, the time and the space. So resources, time and space, they all come in the efficiency of an algorithm. Define the worst case of an algorithm, worst case analysis or worst case efficiency. So it is the longest time that an algorithm will use over all instances of size n for a given problem to produce a result. It is the longest time that an algorithm will use. Best case, it is the shortest time that an algorithm will use over all instances of size n for a given problem to produce a result. So shortest time. What about the average case? The average time that an algorithm will use over all instances of size n for a given problem to produce the result. So you can call it in between the best and worst. So sometimes it is taken as best plus worst by two, various occasions. But average case, we are only worried about the worst case. And most of the cases, the average and worst, they come equal only. So define divide and conquer algorithm. So this is how we approach problem solving. This is a problem solving technique. So first we try to divide a component or a problem into sub problems, and then these sub problems again into some sub problems. And then when we reach to the lowest level, then we try to conquer it or to solve it, and then we can just merge them and combine them. So divide and conquer algorithm is based on dividing the problem to be solved into several smaller sub-instances and solving them independently and then combining the sub-instances solution so as to yield a solution for the original instance. Mention some application of divide and conquer algorithm. Mention some application of divide and conquer. You can apply it on the quick sort is an example, merge sort, binary search. So binary search, merge and quick sort, these are the application of divide and conquer algorithm. Define the dynamic programming algorithm. What is dynamic programming in your data structure or your algorithm analysis? So dynamic programming algorithm is general class of algorithm which solve problem by solving smaller versions of the problem, saving the solution to small problems and then combining them to solve the large problems. So what happens here is in dynamic programming, there are certain occasion in problem solving that those things or those operations are repeated. You know that these operations are again and again repeated, so we save them and we solve it in a different manner. The main problem is solved like the general solution, but the repetition which adds to the efficiency, which adds to the worst case efficiency of the algorithm, that is being solved in dynamic programming. Like in Fibonacci series, there are various ways to solve the Fibonacci series. But we know that if you make a tree of Fibonacci series solution, we said that some operations are to be done every time. So let us not do it again and again and devise a method to solve it in one go. This is dynamic programming. Next is mention application of dynamic programming algorithm. So as I said, efficient Fibonacci number computation, chain matrix multiplication, longest common subsequence problem. These are the few problems solved by dynamic programming in a very good efficient manner. State the various steps in algorithms. What are the steps in algorithm? First, we need to devise the algorithm. Then we need to validate the algorithm. Then express the algorithm. That is expressing the algorithm. Then finally we want to, and there is a necessity to find the complexity of the algorithm. Next question is define algorithm paradigm space of an algorithm. So algorithm paradigms are defined as the general approach to design and construct efficient solution to a problem. You can have two friends. One friend and both are going to solve the same problem. You give them a problem, they will solve the problem. But when they will come, you will try to analyze, okay, you have solved the problem in this fashion, you have solved the problem in this fashion. And you say you take your solution, first person solution takes 10 seconds. Just taking an example. The other one is taking say 3 seconds or 2 seconds. So you will say the second one, okay, you have done a better job. Now you have reduced the 3 seconds and you will try to work on it to make it less than a second. So this is how the algorithm paradigm space is all about. Mention the various spaces utilized by a program. There are various spaces. In a program, there are various spaces utilized by a program. First is a fixed amount of memory occupied by the space for the program code, and this space occupied by the variables used in the program. So this is a code segment. You can say a code segment. Then a variable amount of memory occupied by the variable whose size is dependent on the problem being solved. So this is the code segment. This is a fixed size which is for variables, global variables, etc. and then you have a space which is called as heap. This space increase or decrease depending upon whether the program uses iterative or recursive procedures. What is ADT? Define ADT, abstract data types. ADT. So ADT is a mathematical model or a type of data type, or using basic data type you create a data type, or a mathematical model you create a data type with a collection of operation which is defined on that model. So it is a mathematical model with certain operation that can be applied on this model. There are two types of data structure. Can you answer this question? There are two type of what are the types of data structures you can have? So the answer is there are two types of data structure. One is called as a linear data structure and others are called as non-linear data structure. So linear data structure, what is a linear data structure? The question is this. So linear data structure are data structure having a linear relationship among adjacent elements. For example, linked list. You see linked list have linear relationship among the adjacent item. Non-linear data structure which are not having the linear relationship, that is for example tree and graphs, etc. So non-linear data structures are data structures that don't have a linear relationship among the adjacent element. Now it is very important to say or to answer it in terms of adjacent element. We are not talking about the elements which are being distributed. We are talking about the element with respect to its adjacent element. So when the adjacent element are being talked about in the non-linear data structure, you don't have a linear relationship between the adjacent element, but they may have a hierarchical relationship. As I suggested, the example could be graph and tree. So what are different types of linked list? What are the different types of linked list? You can have a linear linked list, you can have a circular linked list, a doubly linked list. So you can have single linked list, double linked list, or circular linked list. These are the types of linked list. Next question is, what are the different types of circular linked list? In circular linked list, you can have circular linked list also, and circular double linked list also. List the basic operation carried out on a linked list. What are the basic operations which can be carried out in a linked list? In linked list, normal operations you can perform, like you can traverse, you can search, you can delete, you can insert. So all these operations can be performed, like creation of a list first of all, insertion in a list, deletion of a node in a list, modification of the list, traversal of a list. Now the next question is, define a stack. Stack is a data structure. So it is an ordered element of elements in which, so you will not answer it as a data structure, though it is a data structure, because it gives you a framework of placing the data in a particular structure, right? So data, this stack is an ordered element of collection of elements, ordered also, in which the insertions and deletion are only offered or restricted to one end. So the end from which element are added or removed, these are referred to as top of stack. So we will have these stacks. These are also referred to as piles and push down lists. So in stack, the possibilities are you can push an element and you can pop an element. Push means placing on the top, and popping means removing it from the top. And in the same manner, the top, which is a pointer, which is pointing to the top of the top element, so it reduces and it increases. It follows last in or first in, first out. First in, first out, or last in, first out. Which one is, can you answer me? Stack follows last in, first out, or first in, first out. Stack follow LIFO. Stack follow LIFO, while the queue follow FIFO. Why I introduce this? Because the next question is queue only. So the queue is an ordered collection of elements in which the insertions and deletions are restricted to not one end in the context of the end from which the elements are added or removed is referred to as the rear, and the end from which the deletions are made, these are known as, this area is known as the front end. So this follows the first in first out technique or methodology or ordering. What are the differences between your arrays and linked lists? So there are certain differences. First of all, arrays, the sizes of an array is fixed, while the size of the list can vary. Next is it is necessary to specify the number of elements during declaration in arrays. Now we have vectors and other stuff also which are available in the latest programming languages, where internally they use array only, but it can be incremented or decremented, at the runtime. So now we are talking about basic arrays and linked lists. So in this, we have to specify the number before you declare or at the time of declaration. In linked list, it is not necessary to specify the elements during declaration, because the linked list is only start with a header which point to the first node, and then you can add the nodes, you can delete the node as and when required. Insertion and deletions are difficult and costly in arrays. If you have an array, now you want to insert an element. You have to push this element to the left side, this to right side. Even if you want to say delete the element, when you have deleted, now you have to push these element here and rearrange this element here. The insertion deletion are done in less time, though the searching is sequential here, where the array searching is only order of one. You can just go to the index, you can just specify the index, and you can go directly to the element. Next is it occupies less memory than linked list. While linked list may require more memory, but this is also ambiguous sentence, because if you assign or declare an array of a quite big size, and now that size is very big, and that you use or you are employing usaging or inserting very few element, then though that area will always remain wasted. In arrays, the coding is easy. Careful coding is required in linked list, and this is true because linked lists require pointer, so a good knowledge of pointer is required, and the coding for insertion deletion is also quite somewhat more carefully to be done rather in their what you do in arrays. 30. What is single linked list? So it is a linear data structure. Single linked list and array, they both are linear data structure, which contains a pointer field that points to the address of its next node, successor, and the data item. So in your linked list, you have a node. Here you have a data item. Here it points to the next node. It has the address of the next node. So what define the head pointer and null pointer? Head pointer and null pointer. So in the linked list, what happens? The first node, where it is going to be placed, and how you are going to reach out to the linked list. For that, you have to have the address of the first node. So this head pointer is giving you the address of the first pointer. The null pointer means if this is a last node, so it will not be pointing to any other node. Why? Because there is no other node. At this node, the linked list has ended. So now you have null here. So head, it contains the address of the first node in the list, and null, it indicates the end of the list structure. What is meant by a dummy header? Dummy header. See, it is a ahead node in the linked list before the actual data nodes. So this is the dummy header, the head pointer that we are talking about. Define the circular linked list. You know what happens if this is considered to be a last node, and if it is not containing null, but it is containing the address of the first node. Okay, then this is going to be a circular linked list. That is a list structure in which the last node points to the first node. There is no null value involved. Write operation that can be done on stack, as I suggested. You can push, you can pop, you can check for the emptiness. Push and pop are the main operation that can be applied on a stack. Mention application of stack. There are various applications: expression parsing, evaluation of postfix, balancing parentheses, tower of Hanoi, reversing a string. Define infix, prefix, and postfix notation. So if you have a node here, say just I'm giving an example, left and right. So this is the ordering how you refer or you go to the root. So if you first go to the root, okay, if you go root in between, then it will be infix. If you go to the root as the first node, it is a prefix. If you visit the root node at the last, after visiting left and right, this is going to be the postfix. So infix operators are placed between the operands, prefix operators are placed before the operands, and postfix operators are placed after the operands. So these are infix, prefix, and postfix notations. What are the conditions that followed in the array implementation of queue? You can implement a queue using an array. So what are the conditions that need to be followed? So condition is like which rear should be less than front. We say that queue is empty. If front is equal to rear, we say that there is only one entry. But if rear is equal to array size, then we say that queue is full. What are the conditions that could be followed in a linked list implementation of a queue? Linked list implementation of a queue. So we can have a situation like rear equal to head. That is, we say that empty queue. We say rear is equal to link head. We say that no entry is there. If there is no free space to insert full, we say that is queue. What are the conditions that could be followed in a linked list implementation of a queue? Linked list implementation of a queue. So there are certain a different situation like rear modulus of array size plus 1. This shows that front is empty. We have if this is equal to front, then we can say that the queue is empty. If rear modulus of array size plus 2 is equal to front, we say that the queue is full. If front is equal to rear, we say that only one entry is there in queue. Now the next question is define the circular queue. What is a circular queue? The circular queue allows the queue to wrap around each reaching the end of the array. As we said that you can wrap around a queue. Define tree. What is a tree? Now this is an important question. Most of the question generally asked from trees only. So tree, it is a non-linear data structure. First of all, you must know, which is used to store data items in a some sorted manner. So it represents any hierarchical relationship between any data. So it is a collection of node which has a distinguished node which is called as a root, as I just showed you, and zero or more non-empty subtrees. And this subtree will again have subtrees. So it's like T1, T2, Tk, each of which are connected by a directed edge from the root. Directed edge, like this edge. Define the height of the tree. What is the height of the tree? So the height of the tree, n, the height of n is the length of the longest path from root to leaf. If here you have a root, you have a leaf, so the longest path from the root to the leaf is the height of the tree. So all leaves have height 0 because they are at the lowest level, and the height of the tree is equal to the height of the root. Now what is the depth of the tree? Why this depth and height are different? The depth of a tree for any node n, the depth of n is the length of, we are talking about a node. So depth of n is the length of the unique path from the node to the node n. Thus for a root, the depth is always 0. Okay. Let me tell you again. The depth is the length of the unique path from the root to the node. Okay. This is depth. What is the degree of a node? We have learned the fan out, fan in, etc. in various computer science subjects. So it is the number of subtree of a node in a given tree. If a node is there, now how many subtree it is giving rise to? This is the degree of a node. And what is degree of a tree? This is the maximum degree of a node in a given tree. So if a node has say 4 degree, maximum is this node which has a 4 degree. The degree of tree will be 4. Define terminal node or leaf, which is the last node. See, nodes with no children, they are known as leaves. So a leaf will always have a degree 0 because it has no left or right subtree. That is called as a terminal node. What is a non-terminal node then? Any node except the root node whose degree is non-zero is called as non-terminal node, whose degree is non-zero. So we are just excluding the root and the leaves. All the nodes which are not root and leaves, they can be termed as non-terminal node because they should have a degree which is non-zero value. So non-terminal nodes are the intermediate nodes in traversing a given tree from its root to the terminal node. Okay, that is the leaves. Define sibling. The nodes which are at the same level, can you call them the siblings? So nodes with the same parent are called siblings. Okay, if you have a parent, all the other which are coming from the main node, they are the siblings. Next is define the binary tree. Define the binary tree. Binary means 2. So a node which is having at most two children, they are known as binary tree. So it can have 0, it can have 1, it can have at most 2 subtree. So binary tree is a finite set of data in which either empty or it consists of a single item called root and 2 disjoint binary tree called left subtree. The maximum degree of any node is 2. Define expression tree. What is an expression tree? See, expression tree is also a binary tree in which the leaves terminal node or operands, they are operands, and this is not or, this is ARE. Operands and the non-terminal intermediate nodes, they are operators used for traversal. So if you follow certain type of traversal in fixed, postfixed, and prefix, certain type of traversal will actually compute your expression. So expression tree will have the nodes and non-terminal, normal terminal nodes in terms of operators and operands. Define construction of expression tree. See, we first convert the given infix expression into a postfix notation. Then we create a stack and read each character of the expression and push into the stack if operands are encountered. So when an operator is encountered, we pop 2 values from the stack and then perform the operation. So these were a few questions on your algorithm data structure. Thank you so much. Take care.